Bonjour, bonjour, everybody. I see you. We see you. And I hope you see me. Even though you can't see me because I'm not on camera. Anyway, the Shaman Thunder Red Feather. Shaman Thunder Red Feather. Is there a problem, Oscar? Today I want to talk about what's probably getting into the meat of the most interesting part of my experience as a Heyoka. And there's, quite a few Heyokas on Earth. Not relative to the rest of the human population, but there's enough of us for us each to have these individual unique abilities. We all have these niches and archetypes and shit. They might not be truly unique in that sense, but I promise you I've never met anybody that does the same thing as I do, which is probably by, divine signs or whatever. But what did I say? Divine signs. It's just done that way on purpose is what I mean. Anyway, so, so when I first had my awakening or whatever, I kind of started to realize that, I started off in these empath groups and stuff. And the reason being is because I desperately just was trying to understand why I was having these haunting visions and these feelings and getting these messages and stuff, man, that were really freaking me out. Because I know I'm not crazy. I'm not schizophrenic or anything. But as you're going to find out in this video, a lot of times mental illness strikes people like me and light workers and psychic people all the time. And in fact, back when, my tribe was living all tribes basically, all tribes are like this, indigenous tribes living on this vast continent would do this and know this as a fact that when people had episodes with like hardcore depression and hallucinations and stuff like that, from their late teens into their early 20s, they often ended up becoming spiritual leaders and shaman and stuff because, there's a difference between psychotic episodes and spiritual experiences. And a spiritual experience can have a downside, a negative side to it, and it usually does before it gets better. In my tribe, we have what we call the way of a good life. There's an indigenous words for it that I fucking always fail to pronounce. It's Anishinaabe Mino Bizadoin, I think. Bizadoin, something like that. It's a hard language. But I'm going to tell you about the language later and what makes it so interesting. So, basically, there was a point in my life where I was about, let's say, 27 years old. It's been almost a decade ago. And 2 or 3 times now I've met women and stuff and poured my love into them, which was actually there. But I had intolerable fucking addiction issues, narcissistic kind of tendencies. They were just learned narcissistic behaviors, though I'm not a narcissist. A lot of people like to tell me that I'm a narcissist, but I will literally cry over a plant or anybody. I have empathy for people, and I don't gaslight people and shit. I gaslight myself, and that's it. But, I was strongly addicted to opiates. I had just had this beautiful girl named Danielle come all the way across the country for me after I ruined my escape out in Florida, living with her and her mom in this big house that had an indoor pool and everything over Xanax and Klonopin. I stole her Xanax. I stole her mom's Xanax and shit, and ended up with the police escorting me to a fucking airport to get on a plane and fucking go. And there was one day where I got a hold of some Ativan from the old fucking lady we were renting a room from. And I had gotten all fucked up, and apparently I was trying to eat a box of laundry detergent because it was all colorful and shit, and I thought it was candy. The problem with that was, though, is that there was nothing to fucking eat, dude, and there was dog shit everywhere in that house, and dogs would bark all fucking night. She was an animal hoarder, and we didn't know it. She kept them all locked up during the day when we came to go sign the papers, or we might have met her somewhere else or something. But anyway, I had fucking snapped on her that morning after she was pissed at me, and I'm like, oh, why don't you just fucking go home? And you know, I continued to just say rugged, horrible shit to her until she fucking left, and I cried like a little baby when we got to the airport and she was leaving. But ultimately, I knew that, well, I thought that it would be best for her to leave me the fuck alone because I was just going to ruin her life anyway. But, and it's in my mind, but about 2 or 3 months later, she killed herself, unalived herself, unfortunately. It's not like I'm going to get monetized by YouTube anyway. You know, she had a pedophile dad that was probably touching her and shit. I told her I was there and I was going to protect her, though, and it fucking really fucked me up when she died. She left a note to me in her suicide note, and she basically told me it wasn't my fault and that, you know, she urged me to go to rehab even in her death, like, once again, man. And I just wish she would have been here to tell me that she was proud of me and shit. But that had me fucked up. I was 25 years old when that happened. For 2 years, man, I barely did anything. Get out of bed. I was in here. I had a fucking hardcore opiate problem. I was in here on my deathbed, and I thought, basically, I went to detox one last fucking time, and they ignored me when I went there. I tried to get into a rehab for 18 months, and they said I couldn't go because of my medications that I need because I have BPD. And they fucking... I slid down against the wall in the hallway in this fucking drug dependency ward at a mental hospital, and I began to cry my fucking eyeballs out, and not one of those people, those so-called professional mental health people in there, fucking came to see if they could help me with anything or what was wrong or anything, and I finally just told them to discharge me, and I went home to die. I'm telling you, y'all, I was in here throwing up in trash cans and not giving a fuck, Gatorade bottles. And then one night I met basically what I would call like a twin flame catalyst. She was a faux flame. But she lit up the fucking way I saw God and in a moment and everything. We fucking talked for the next 48 hours, and I was wondering what the fuck was going on. So basically the first thing that hit me was that I felt like I had known this person for thousands of years, man, like before we'd even been born, and it was this overwhelming feeling. And I asked her about it, and she was like, yes, I do. I feel it was a whole roller coaster of emotions. Both of us were planning on killing ourselves that night. It's a long story, but we didn't do it, obviously. But this is around the time where I started kind of reaching out to people, and, you know, I would tell these little white lies about my life and make up stuff to make people happy. And I would, you know, pep talk people and tell people, yo, you're beautiful, you're human, just keep trying, you know, just basically started light working without really knowing what it was. And when all this twin flame shit started opening up and I started having visions and all this other stuff, I ended up on 2 or 3 or 4 empath boards, and boy, those are some fucking reckless Disney characters right there, boy. They don't ever think about nothing but Disney movies and candy canes and Shirley Temple and Mickey Mouse. Shut the fuck up, man. Like, I want to talk about you've never had a violent thought in your mind. Oh, you can feel other people's emotions. Oh, you have empathy. Wow. We do too. Anyway, during this time when me and her were really connected and stuff, I was very strong shamanically. I didn't even really understand about being a shaman quite yet. I called myself a light worker. Also, underneath the veil, did a lot of dark work, which I'll probably get into later. That ended up getting into like sex trafficking and stuff, where we would track down people. That's a very interesting story. Like I've personally been involved in like 4 or 5 breakups of sex trafficking instances in the United States. I've been all over the place. Essentially, let's just get into that now. Essentially, I was on a bus in 2016. Well, no, let's start here. 2016, like in January and February, is where this really began to fucking really get ardent and fucking really powerful in my life. You know, I was getting messages to myself from my Facebook memories. There was I'm in this point now where I'm turning over rocks looking for God. You know, I had this experiences where I found God and I was speaking to God, and I like to speak to God out loud, but there was, I was walking down to the fucking store to steal some Tide or whatever to go sell to the drug man to get some opiates. Which is funny because I was coming back to help people with being addicted to heroin. Which, I helped people spiritually and psychically and emotionally, people get off of heroin while I was still dying from it. And I was volunteering for it. So, there's this one day, just for example, where I'm walking down the street and I'm in my head, I'm just watching people go by on the road. They don't care nothing about anybody else. Most of them could see somebody walking on the side of the road with no shoes on and nothing, not offer a ride or anything. They're driving around in their big SUVs just burning up gas that they don't need to burn up. They don't need SUVs. They literally, what suburban means, a SUV, a suburban utility vehicle, that means that you're going off on dirt roads and stuff like that and you're using it for utilities. To go camping and shit. And drive up into the mountains and shit like that. These people don't do that. They have not a care in the world. These are, people that'll come. It's 11:11 on the timer right now. I want you to understand that just passed and why I just saw that. It's funny because this thing's on a gauge when I'm looking at it. It's 11:11 and I'm telling you, I'm looking at these people and it's the same thought in my mind as when people trample others at Black Friday and shit like that and people get fucking killed over stuff. And it's consumerism. It's just material objects. And it's so fucking wrong for humanity to be doing that. And I want to love everyone. That's what I said. God, I want to love everyone. I know I'm supposed to love everyone. And I really want to love them. But how the fuck am I supposed to love them? And look what they do to me. And look what they've done to them. Look what their ancestors have done to my people. And look what some of their fucking descendants are still doing to my people. And look at some of these people who will look me dead in my face and patronize me. And tell me they got a little bit of Cherokee in them. Like that's the only fucking Indian that you could possibly be. And then they talk to me like the Cherokee are extinct or something. Hope you're not extinct. The Cherokee are not extinct. The fucking Cherokee are going long and hard, cock strong, fucking long and strong, baby. They're deep. The Cherokee are fucking deep, yo. I've had more than one white woman talk to me like they're extinct. Anyway. I'm sure Sandra that, you're big Native American in your blood with your blonde hair and fucking green eyes and freckles. I'm sure. Yeah. So I'm walking and I'm asking all these questions about that. And even though it's a distress in my heart and it hurts, and I cry a little bit. It feels good, man. It feels good, man, to express these emotions to my Creator, who I just began to truly become close to. Because, when I used to go to church, I would always feel something beautiful when we'd sing in choir. And as soon as the fucking preacher started talking about the power of evil and how scary Satan is, I'd check out. I don't want to hear all that stuff. I'm not worried about that. He should be worried about me. Satan should be worried about me. So, I went and I sat down. I hugged trees. There's these 3 trees down there that I like to hug. I sat down there for a minute just in silence, just watching people go by and shit. And on my walk home, and I get up to my room with my dope and everything, and I get high. And I turn my laptop towards me as I left it open. And I pressed a button and it refreshed my Facebook feed that was up and it had a memory up top. A Facebook memory for that day. And it said, only God knows when while we still love each other. Let me repeat that. It said, only God knows while we still love each other. And this was written by me and on my Facebook with no clear. I have no idea. Obviously, I was talking to myself in the future. It's like that. I get messages like that. And if I told a psych doctor about that, they'd fucking lock me up instantly unless it's one of these quantum psychologists that are into that kind of thing that know there's a difference. There's much more to this reality than the mundanity that you people insist that there is. Right here, I'm going to start a part 2. And we're going to talk about part 2, which is when I got into my first clients after I kind of realized what my niche was, okay? I'm going to stop this right at 15 minutes, guys. I want to thank y'all for listening. Tune into the next one, please. Let's get this thing going, man. I want to spread this message, and I'm sure you guys do too.